Is ghostwriting legal? This is the number one question I get asked, and the answer surprises a lot of people. I'm going to tell you the truth about ghostwritten books. Ghostwriting books is completely legal everywhere in the world, period. In fact, ghostwriting as a vocation has existed for centuries. Professional writers have been paid to craft speeches, write memoirs, celebrity books, and political manifestos. The legal and ethical issue only arises when specific external institutions, such as schools, colleges, universities, government agencies, or corporations, have its own rules against it, and someone submits work in violation of that rule. But the ghostwriting itself is not the problem. The problem is misrepresenting a written work as your own when it's not, to an authority that specifically prohibits this. So let's talk about the legality of ghostwriting. According to the U.S. Copyright Office and similar agencies in many other countries, the author of a work is permitted to assign or sell the copyright to another party. When a ghostwriter signs a typical ghostwriting agreement, they transfer copyright to the named author, their client, as part of that contract. This is a standard work made for hire agreement. The author-client then holds all intellectual property rights legally and completely. There's nothing fraudulent or deceptive about it because no regulatory body or authority is being deceived. No law is being broken. This is the same legal structure used in speechwriting. Politicians routinely use speechwriters, and no one claims this is fraud. In fact, I think few people ever expect that politicians are writing their own stuff. They have to have help. In corporate communications, CEOs don't write their own earnings call scripts or annual report letters, and I don't think that anybody expects them to either. In entertainment, we have celebrity memoirs and athlete autobiographies. And again, I think it's pretty well expected that they had help in putting together those works because that's not their area of expertise. They're not publishing experts. And in legacy projects like family histories or corporate histories, within the organization, there rarely exists someone who has publishing knowledge that could do all the work themselves. So they hire ghostwriters, and no one is harmed by having a professional writer step in and assist in communicating a message that someone else wants to share. And in more and more cases, we're seeing people acknowledge that they had help with their book or their report or their speech. However, there is a line drawn very clearly at academic writing. In writing papers for students, it's not that ghostwriting itself becomes illegal, but rather it becomes a violation of an institutional rule to have someone else do a student's work for them. This is something totally different from what I do, just FYI. Universities, colleges, and K-12 schools have academic integrity policies that require students to submit their own original work as evidence of their learning process. And this makes perfect sense, right? We go to school to learn, and there are assessments throughout the process to make sure that we're getting what the teacher is teaching. So papers, tests, quizzes, these are all tools that educators use to assess how well a student is mastering the material. When a student submits a ghostwritten essay or thesis, paper, test, dissertation, they're presenting to the school or university that the work is their own. They're violating a specific code they agreed to when they entered, usually an honor code, and that can then lead them to earn a grade or even a degree that they didn't really earn and that they aren't really entitled to. The consequence of hiring a ghostwriter in these situations can be anything from expulsion from school to degree revocation or a failing grade on the assignment or for the whole course. In some countries, it can cross over into legal territory. In Australia, for example, contract cheating was effectively criminalized in 2020, it became illegal for commercial entities, that is, companies or businesses, to provide academic ghostwriting services to students. It wasn't illegal for students to use ghostwriters per se, but for the services to knowingly facilitate it. The UK considered similar legislation, and these laws target the industry supplying the service, not the general practice of ghostwriting. So, just quick rule of thumb, book ghostwriting, always legal. No law or authority currently prohibits it, nor do we expect them to. Academic ghostwriting for submission, it violates school policy. Consequences are institutional, meaning specific to the college, school, university where the student attends, and it's not generally criminal, with a few country-specific examples. Ghostwriting for other high-stakes, rule-bound contexts, such as bar exam submissions, medical board certifications, or grant applications where you are purporting to be the author. These can cross into fraud if the submission includes a false representation to an authority that matters legally, meaning you have signed documentation that says you prepared this work when you actually didn't. To the best of my knowledge, professional ghostwriters who are members of the Association of Ghostwriters steer clear of ghostwriting academic works or assignments where they're doing the thinking for their student client. Legitimate ghostwriters are not interested in helping to perpetuate academic dishonesty. That's not what we want to do. But books are different. So there's no authority that you're deceiving when a ghostwritten business book is published under a CEO's or anyone's name. Readers don't have a contractual or legal right to know who wrote the book. Publishers know ghostwriting happens, and they often facilitate it because it increases the likelihood that the manuscript they receive will be of high quality. The author whose name is on the book takes responsibility for the ideas, the facts, and the claims in the book. They're not misrepresenting their expertise. If they had the help of a ghostwriter, some reveal that in the acknowledgement section. They might say, "Thank you to my ghost or my editor." Others choose not to, which is totally okay. They didn't add subject matter expertise. They only helped with communicating the message. So ghostwriters don't typically expect to be acknowledged, although it's very helpful when we do receive it. But back to the original question, is ghostwriting legal? Yes, ghostwriting is legal. However, if there's any authority to which a piece of writing is being submitted that prohibits anyone but the named author from submitting it, then there very well may be a rule violation. It's not illegal, but there might be a school rule violated. The ghostwriter didn't violate it, however. The client did.